Have you ever prayed for revival and yet felt empty? You attend a conference and it seems as though everyone around you is being filled with Christ and just a love with Him and a passion for ministry, and yet you can't help going home at night and saying, God, I'm still empty. God, I'm not filled. God, why don't I have the joy and the passion that they're experiencing? You know, often in life, we are like a water bottle. Imagine if I was to take this water bottle and I go to the sink and I turn it on, and I keep my water bottle there all day long with the cap on. Would the water bottle ever be filled? You see, it will not be filled until I am willing for that cap to be removed. And it's the same in our life. Often we come to Christ and we're praying for that revival, we're praying for that new experience, and yet we keep that cap solid on. And God is saying, I can't fill you. I want you to have that new and that abundant life, but I can't fill you until you're willing for me to take off that cap. Is there possibly something we haven't surrendered to God? Is there something that we're holding back and God is saying it has to go before you can have that full and complete experience with me? He was a disciple, casting out demons, healing the sick, there in the very presence of Jesus Christ, sleeping on a mat at night beside Him, eating with Him each day. And yet Judas was lost. I used to wonder, how could that be? How could you be in the presence of God and yet be lost? And the answer is found in the book Desire of Ages. Ellen White records that even though he did all these things, even though he desired to be a Christian, even though he wanted to go all the way and to be in the presence of Jesus, he never came to the point of fully surrendering himself to God. You see, I believe that the most miserable people in the world are Christians that have surrendered 99% to God. There is no one more miserable than the one who is keeping that 1% for themselves and thinking that they have given enough for God. God is asking for 100% because that's the only way that He can give us that true joy. There was a missionary by the name of James Calvert. James was going to serve in Fiji, an island that at that time was inhabited by cannibals. Imagine being in this ship with your family and you're heading off to this island inhabited by cannibals. I can't imagine announcing that over Christmas dinner, and yet there you are on your way, and the ship captain, a secular man, stopped James Calvert and he said, "What are you doing? You are a fool. You are stupid. Why would you take your family? Why would you take your children to an island inhabited by cannibals?" And yet James Calvert, a man of great faith, replied with these words, "Brother, we are not afraid of death because we died before we came here. We're not afraid of the cannibals. We're not afraid of the threat before us because you see, we have already died." How is it with our walk with Christ? Is it true that we have already died? Is it true that we have already surrendered all? Is it true that our cap is off and that God can truly and fully and completely fill our lives today? Revelation chapter 3 verse 20 has a passage that we're very familiar with. The Bible says, "Behold," speaking of Jesus, "I stand at the door and I knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come into him and dine with him and he with me." Often we use this passage on non-Christians and we say, if you just open that door, Jesus will come in. But when you look at this passage in Revelation chapter 3, it is actually addressed to the Laodicean church. It is addressed to Christians. It is addressed to Adventists. And there Jesus stands outside of our hearts and He's knocking. He's saying, I want to come in. I know you say you're a Christian, but you haven't come to that point of full surrender. I want to come in. I want to dwell in your heart and in your life. Will you let me come in? Often we limit Jesus and we say, Jesus, you can come in the entryway. I'm comfortable with you there. I'll go to church. I'll spend some time studying and reading the Word, but just stay in the entryway. And yet Jesus says, no, I want to come into your living room. I want to come into your experience. I want to come into your closet. I want to come into your career. I want to come into your entire heart. And yet we limit Jesus to the entryway. Today our God is saying, behold, I stand at the door and I'm knocking. I want you to have that full and complete experience with me. Are you willing to surrender all to Jesus? Are you willing to give all to the one that gave all for you? Are you willing to have that cap removed so that you too can experience the joy of full surrender.